Good afternoon, everyone. We will here with our second session, which is entitled as Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, electronic payments versus cryptocurrency. So, uh, over to you, Professor Sumit Kalra. So, uh,
Thank you. I'm not getting share screen option. Can you check? Yes, now it's here. Thank you. Is it visible?
yes, sir, it is visible perfectly.
Yeah, great. Now, you already know about me. Let's straightforward jump to the topic: Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and electronic payments. Now, Bitcoin is an example of cryptocurrency. What is cryptocurrency? Uh, as compared to the paper currency or plastic currency, like paper currency uses paper. Uh, Plastic currency are your credit card, debit card. In the same way, we have cryptocurrency, which uses cryptographic algorithms to ensure there has been transactions. Like on paper currency, we have seen in India that it's written that I promise to pay this much amount to the receiver and all. So in the same way in cryptography, we can ensure that particular statement was said by a particular person at given point of time in the given context, and that will be committed, and the same concept can be used for the currency. And cryptocurrencies are not new. The concept is there since the inception of cryptography, 1600. With the modern computer science, again the computer-based cryptocurrency concept came around in 1960s, late 1960s. But uh, out of all these, Bitcoin was the first formal launch of any cryptocurrency for public domain around in 2008 or 9. So before Bitcoin, there were multiple cryptocurrencies being used by different organizations. You will still find those cryptocurrency in your system. You also might have used some of them. Like if you buy something from Amazon, Flipkart, or Big Bazaar, they give you some credits. Uh, there are some payback points which comes to you, and essentially you can reuse those points later on when you accumulate enough number of points to buy something. So I'll say that is also software based currency. uh, why we can say it's a cryptocurrency? If your wallet or your transaction has been stored with the uses of cryptographic algorithms. So it's not that cryptocurrency is entirely new thing. We have been using it, but we have never thought of replacing our existing currency method using some cryptocurrency, maybe Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency, Ethereum and all. Now, what is the advantage of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? So, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are software methods. So, you don't need any physical medium to exchange Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It's like you can log in your wallet from anywhere, either mobile or registered devices, and then perform some transactions. In electronic payment, before electronic payment, you need to do some physical transactions for exchanging money. But in case of electronic payment, it's similar. You log in your device, you perform transaction and log out. So for end user, electronic payment and Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency are exactly same. The only difference is for the intermediate stakeholders or the system governance who are going to regulate the transactions. For end user, there's no difference as such. So since I'm a software architect, we need to look at the architecture of the system to talk about anything. So just a minute. Yeah. So it's a Bitcoin architecture. So in Bitcoin architecture, let's start from user. You have app to interact with the Bitcoin system. It's similar to any mobile app. You can in Bitcoin case, it will be Bitcoin wallet app. And the way you interact with any UPI payment app or banking app, you can do all same things in the Bitcoin wallet app. You can receive money, you can transfer the money, given condition that you have enough money in your wallet. In the same way, you have enough balance in your bank accounts. It gives a RPC call, RPC, remote procedure call. The app connects with the wallet. In the banking app, it connects to your that account is known as Bitcoin wallet. Now, Bitcoin wallet will fetch, update the. Now, this storage of all the transactions or your statements or your balance is a blockchain. So there are multiple blocks in the chain. A consensus protocol to validate whether a particular transaction is valid or not. Wallet if goes to connection manager. Transactions goes to memory, validate engine, and then goes to the storage. Now connection manager or all other users who are connected to the Bitcoin system. And you are doing transactions in the same way like nowadays you are doing with your UPI payment app. You can check your contacts who are on the same platform. So that is what discovery is. And it's a in the case of mobile banking, it's banking app. In Bitcoin, it's P2P network. So if you see this dotted line, internal functionality among this is almost same as an mobile banking app, except network is on P2P, where the banking app will have banking network. The validation of the transaction will also happen for bank. The storage engine with storage will not be depending on the consensus protocol or miner. So whatever transactions happening in banking system will be based on the miners. It will be based on the banking authorities. And then it won't be banking thing. So architecture for Bitcoin is clear. You may not remember it. It's good idea to have the information and how things happen at high level. Electronic payment. Here I have taken a UPI architecture. UPI architecture is given by NP, supported by NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India. So now look at this architecture. Here you have dialing of the numbers, IVR system. By dialing your numbers or SMS, you can transact with the Union Payment Interface. Then third party, there are internet who also interact with the UPI. The apps you have wallet, you have small like Paytm Bank or PhonePe Bank and etc. Airtel Bank. Now, a wallet app like PhonePe or Paytm or Google Pay have to be associated with some bank. So if you look at your UPI ID, it's like it might be something like your phone number, period. So CCI or SC, it used to be YBL, Yes Bank Limited. So all these your UPI ID from third party apps are actually using some bank in the payment system players. So your Google, Paytm are not actually the system players. Your banks are only the payment system players in case of UPI. So why I'm repeating again and again that banks are the intermediary third party systems which has been removed by the blockchain. So Bitcoin does not have any banks as such. They have mobile apps or different third-party wallet apps, and they directly connected to the storage and miners to start interaction. But in case of UPI, all the transactions are coming through the bank interfaces. Now, for inter-bank transaction, each of these interact with the Unified Payment Interface (UPI). Now, UPI further has support from deposit, MPS, RuPay, e-com wallets, and field sensing system transfer. So there are multiple ways using which you can use UPI to transfer money from one bank to another bank. So I hope the architecture of UPI is clear, and at the same time architecture of Bitcoin is also clear. If there is any doubt, so now also we can discuss that how Bitcoin is different from the electronic payment gateway. So electronic payment gateways essentially has made your banking task in an electronic format, in digital format, but in terms of process, the process is still same. You go to bank, you authorize yourself, you kind of sign using PIN or manual signature, then money is transferred given that you have enough money in your account. The process has not changed, but it has been digitized. So some automation and conventional banking system, and we have facility of electronic. I have just explained the example of UPI for electronic payment. You can take example of any Visa or MasterCard payment gateways, credit card or debit card, ATMs and all. Essentially, all those are third party, MasterCard, Visa, RuPay and all. You can see RuPay is associated unified payment interface. In the same way, Visa using their own payment interface which interact with the MasterCard, PayPal, with the banks. And then actual transactions is happening through the banks only. So all those are part of electronic payment modes. Whereas in Bitcoin, what is happening is instead of bank, you have P2P consensus network, and now you recall any blockchain kind of transactions happening on Bitcoin. You create a transaction, it goes into memory pool, then miners will mine it and validate it and go for persistent storage. In Bitcoin, those things are happening. Now, to validate a transaction, there are multiple miners. To validate transaction in electronic payment, banks are the equivalent to miners. The difference is miners are multiple in numbers, and multiple miners have to ensure that a particular transaction is valid. Whereas in case of banking, we blindly rely on the banks, third party entities in exchange, that these third party entities say it's valid, that transaction is valid. And whatever risk is there in terms of transaction, that risk are being guaranteed by the banks. So if there's a there's a ATM hack happened and your money is getting deducted from your account, you can complain to the bank within 2 or 3 days or within 24 hours as per the RBI guidelines, and banks will be responsible for the loss. So you will not lose the money as such, but banks will pay for you. But in case of Bitcoin, since there's no third party entity and we are not relying on the banks as such, we are relying on the P2P network. Now, if this some fraud happens or loss happens, there's no entity who can take responsibility for your loss. So your loss means your loss. So there's no regulational entity as of now in the Bitcoin. So I hope the scenario is clear for Bitcoin and Bitcoin architecture or cryptocurrency architecture. Cryptocurrency you can uh, think of like validation engine or cryptographical techniques validate or mine. That's the only difference. But cryptocurrency as such not promised to be on P2P network. So cryptocurrency is like whatever your internet banking you're using, that is actually encrypted. Your mobile banking, your UPI payment gateways, all are encrypted. But so they are using cryptography techniques. But cryptocurrency, the currency itself is also in digital form. Here, in the banking system, at least you have the real replica corresponding to your digital amount. So your currency is in paper format and the corresponding replica is in the digital format. But in case of cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, everything is there in digital format only, not in the paper format. So physical existence of the asset is not there. If you remember, this is one of the question whether blockchain is suitable or not. There was one question on whether the asset is physical or digital. In case of cryptocurrency, the asset is completely digital. So, but in case of banking and traditional electronic payments, we have corresponding physical payments. So, any doubt, any question till now about Bitcoin architecture or electronic payment architecture? Okay. So, with this understanding, we shall move forward. Now, you remember the questions from the previous lecture? I'll again use the same framework to compare electronic payments versus Bitcoin. So the very first question was there, are you trying to remove intermediaries or brokers? Now in case of Bitcoin, it is network, so there's no right. But in case of bank, bank or electronic payment, in electronic payments, the intermediate, not only banks. So in Bitcoin case, RBI is also not there. Now you can imagine that if RBI or government interference is there, then the misuse can happen of cryptocurrency. Uh, Transactions are not anonymous in blockchain, like in Bitcoin also. They are secured by the cryptologic techniques. So when we generally, this is the doubt people have that in Bitcoin, the transactions are anonymous. Not anonymous. They are known to public that this account number has transferred this much money to this account number. But those account numbers, corresponding, login credentials, there's a public private key, are actually not in the public domain. They are in the system itself. Now, miners mine a particular transaction. And in P2P system, you can think of so many, right? Now, all these miners and that block is valid. Now, for this, we are depending peer-to-peer network of miners. The miner mines the transactions and validate it. Now, as a intermediary, the intermediary is actually P2P network, the number of miners. If you want to control the transaction, one idea is to actually take over the more than 50% of miners. If the 50% of miners take over, then you can do some validation or invalidation of some transactions which are not desirable. So you can validate a transaction which is not valid, or you can invalidate a transaction which is valid if you cover more than 50% of miners. Now the question is, for Bitcoin, the miners, or any blockchain, the miners are resource hungry devices. They require specific compute power and electricity. Again, electricity bill is also an issue. So since Google is a central system, all the electricity bill is paid by Google. But in case of this blockchain, the electricity bill will be paid by the miners or intermediate nodes and all. So we should ask question, if miners are paying the bill, electricity bill, we can also ask same question, how a bank is earning money. So for each transaction, intermediate transaction, bank charges its own commission for each transaction. Like if bank issues you checkbook, it takes some commission for you, from you. So there are banks money by mining the particular transaction block. So after mining, after successful mining the block, they are being rewarded by some commission in terms of bitcoins. So when you perform Bitcoin transaction, say you want to transfer 0.05 Bitcoin from account A to account B, and you are account holder A, when you initiate the transaction, you mention the transaction amount, the recipient is account B, transaction amount is 0.05. Let me write here. Give me a moment. Yes. So you want to transact money using Bitcoin. So you need things for transacting money. You need to mention three things. One is recipient. Saying E. Then amount for Bitcoin. Also mention the commission. Is now for each transaction you are mentioning the commission. Now based this commission will go to the miner who will successfully validate transaction for you. So instead of giving money to the bank, which is central system, we are giving money to the miners to validate your transaction. Now, like this communicate, then miners may not be, interested in taking your transactions and perform the mining. But if you put higher then the powerful miners would be interested in mining your transaction, because as successful mining, the commission amount is higher, so they are getting more bitcoins. So from this you can infer that if you want to immediately transact, if you want to immediately confirm that your transaction is committed, then you can put the commission amount towards higher side. But if you don't bother, you say that okay, let it happen over time, you can mention the less amount of the commission. So since it's a P2P network, there are large amount of simultaneous transactions happening. So only a particular set of transactions will form a block and will be validated at any given point of time. So in case of blockchain, a block of transaction in that can be another. So in this blockchain, it's a sequential system. It's not parallel system. And each block, the blockchain will be added sequentially. And the moment your transaction becomes part of any of the block in the blockchain, at that time your transaction is committed. So to ensure that your transaction becomes part of the blockchain immediately, you will keep the commission amount higher side. Now here we have removed the intermediary in the terms of single intermediary, not in the terms of true mediator. True intermediators are still there. So miners are still there, but then they are not controlled by any single organization or authority. Miners are in public domain. But like I mentioned, it cannot be controlled by a single authority. But if I say that there are 25, I control 13 or more miners, I can kind of rule that which transaction should be part of which block and when it should be committed. So to overtake the Bitcoin, overtake the Bitcoin currency, a person or an entity need to compete with the P2P network of miners and put more than 50% of miners in the blockchain system. So if there are 1 million miners, and if you want to compete with, you want to take over this Bitcoin having 1 million miners, you actually need to introduce 1.001 million miners into the system. So total number of miners will become 2 millions, 2 millions and 1. And out of 2 millions and 1, you own 1 million and 1 miners. Then you have more than 50% majority. So that is one condition on which Bitcoin is successfully working. One assumption I say that no single entity can take over of more than 50% miners. So miners are actually true intermediaries or brokers in our case. Right? Right? With the second question. Doing a digital you well see or what is the advantage of paper currency? Paper currency is tangible asset. It can be traced. You know, each currency note has number. It can be moved even if your digital system is down, your internet is down. Still, you can sell and buy things using paper currency. You remember there was a North Grid failure. The whole of North India was not having electricity last year, some in 2018 or 17 sometime. So those failures are probable or more frequent, then digital payments will actually hold lots of transactions, which can be done by the paper currency. So here we are talking about where digital currency cannot be used, but paper currency can be successful. On the other uh, on the other note, you can ask question which one is more powerful. The digital payments are more powerful or paper currency is more powerful. So the transactions which are paper using paper currency are not exactly traceable. You can imagine that most of these illegal activities or bribe uses paper currency, bribe activities uses paper currency. It cannot be done in digital format. So for end users, there might be some reluctant to use digital currency. Now the second, another aspect to look at is like if you forget your username password for Bitcoin or internet banking, you have only one option remaining with you. You go to bank and recover your reset, ask them to reset your password. Of course, you need to follow some steps. You need to fill some form, give them identity proof and all. But in case of Bitcoin, if you forget your password, it's all done. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million equivalent Bitcoin in your Bitcoin wallet. If your password is lost, the money which was in your wallet, Bitcoin wallet, is actually destroyed from the system in case of password lost. Let me put across the same thing in another scenario. In the Bitcoin wallet, suppose a person has money equivalent to 10 billion US dollars. Now, if that person suddenly have some, met some accident and suddenly died on the spot, so the password of that Bitcoin wallet is gone with that person. You cannot recover that password, and uh, even if you recover the private key with be that person, so you may not be able to even use it. But if you are able to recover both of things, that is fine. So you might be storing your password or private key somewhere, either written on paper or something, whatever you are digitally stored in your phone notes, etc. But imagine if a wallet get lost because of some incident, then those 10 billion US dollar which was there in that wallet, that money will not be able to recovered at any means in case of Bitcoin. Now you can imagine that thing in the real world, that RBI is printing some currency. Based on that, they have some total currency amount, total amount in India which is there. And suddenly the $10 billion equivalent currencies disappeared from the system. So physically those currency notes are taken out of the system, not by RBI, by someone else, and it will never come back to the system circulation. So over the period, see that the number of bitcoins may reduce, the number of available bitcoins may reduce in the system. But then there's a trade-off. How Bitcoin is handling this scenario of uh, money, like bitcoins are being destroyed because of lost wallet or something. But then how they are dealing with this scenario? What they are doing is they are working on this. So say earlier they were, and the value of my, say I'm just mentioning USD. Now if there are only 9 bitcoins left, now to maintain see if 90 bitcoin left and 10 bitcoin get lost by because of some wallet issue. Now the people who are holding those 90 bitcoins, so their one bitcoin value may be increased. Ultimately, what happened using this method, the people who are holding 90 bitcoin are actually holding the million USD. 100 million USD was divided among 100 bitcoins. Now it's divided among 90 bitcoins. So the person whose wallet is lost for 10 bitcoin is out of system. So value for each bitcoin is increased to compensate the lost bitcoin value. So the physical value is always near to the 100 million US dollars. So one Bitcoin is equivalent to 1 million USD. So 100 Bitcoin is equivalent to 100 million USD. In second scenario, one Bitcoin is equivalent to 1.11 million USD. and 90 bitcoins will be equivalent to again 100 million USD. That is the funda. Now we say since these are digital assets, they are prone to be lost or corrupted or something. So that's how Bitcoin is handling this scenario. Okay. So I hope scenario is clear. Are you working with digital assets or physical assets? So there are some pros and cons of using physical or digital assets in case they are of currency. Now, like Bitcoin, there are large number of cryptocurrencies. There are multiple cryptocurrency systems. Some of them are public, some of them are private. But if you look at the paper-based currency, generally the organization makes it harder to replicate the currency. To ensure there is no fake currency circulating in the system. And then there are regulatory bodies who are tracking time to time the income and sale, and so many things are there with the conventional currency system. So I'm not saying which one is better. It depends on use case to use case. Russia has banned any foreign currency exchange, which also includes cryptocurrencies. Whereas some smaller countries in Europe or European Union, they have allowed, they stopped these cryptocurrencies, but also not also formally accepted as of now. As of now in India, the dealing with cryptocurrency is illegal. If they catch you, then you are in trouble. Next question. The digital asset is the currency. Now, do you have to record all my transactions? No, right? Because it's a privacy breach for me. But we have agreed to give this authority to bank. In case of cryptocurrency, all these records are generally known to all the peers in the network. And if it's a public blockchain, then it's known to all the public who are part of the public blockchain. If it's a private blockchain, that transaction is actually known to all the private blockchain partners. So now the question is more at business logic or policy level. Does we want anyone else to have authority to permanently record our transactions or our actions on the currency? So there's no binary answer for this, like yes or no. It all depends on use case to use case. Right? Next question is, do you require high performance rapid transaction? So this we have kind of already discussed in the previous lecture, like how we can use cryptocurrency for banking transactions. So like the time cryptocurrency systems are working on reducing the time requirement for consensus agreement. And there was a question that if we reduce the consensus time in blockchain, answer the question is no, we are not compromising the security. Compromising is the security flaws, but directly it's not reducing any level of security to the blockchain system. Blockchain system is distributed system using encryptions for all the transactions and all. Consensus time reduction leads to some fraudulent transactions can happen. Proper arrangement, so hacks can happen, and then hacks can lead to the trustability issues. Now there is another angle like high performance and rapid transactions. So uh, the question we should ask whether the electronic payments are actually high performance or rapid transaction systems or not. So UPI has made it actually quite high performance and rapid, but not for all types of transactions. And this high performance and rapid transactions are coming at a risk. Say I want to transfer 2000 rupees from SBI account to ICICI account. In that scenario, say the amount is less than 2000, then UPI will say that okay, we don't need to verify the complete transactions before commit because the amount is very small. We can directly commit it, and later on we can see whether to revert it or not, roll back it or not. But if the amount is quite high, say 1 million rupees, then it will not happen immediately. It will go through multiple level of authorities. Like in conventional settings, if your check is of some amount, some larger amount, then bank manager, the branch manager used to look at the check, match your signature physically, and then pass it. But if your amount is less, they just immediately pass it. They don't bother to see the signature as such. The checkbook itself is unique nowadays, so they do it. So that is what the banks are taking risk every day related to trustability to provide you high performance and rapid transactions. But in case of blockchain, since there's no physical entity who is taking care of this trustability issue, so the if by chance any loss or hack happens, you won't be able to recover your money. But in case of, like I already mentioned, in case of banking system, third party like banks are responsible for any loss in case the loss is reported and it's legitimate. So sometimes you might have heard that people have withdrawn money from ATM. It got detected from their account, but ATM did not give out the currency notes. So those losses also are also taken care by banks. So banks are essentially the entities being an intermediator, and to increase the hype, they also so like we said, transaction less than 2000 happens immediately, and you can also use NFC, which does not require password. So all those are policy level decisions using which they are increasing the trustability as well as taking care of the high performance requirement. But uh, if you carefully notice, the high performance requirement and the trustability, actually these two have trade-off. So if you increase one, you tend to lose another one. So now we need to ask question whether we require high performance rapid transactions. Yes. Then in case blockchain can be used, but it's not efficient. So if I say that for current banking system, can we use blockchain? So I will go through this question and say no, not yet. As of now, the blockchain have longer commit time, so they are not suitable as of now, but in future we may be adopting it. And amount of non-transactional data. Like the current balance, the frequency of transactions, and if it's a salary account. So it's coming from the policies, you see. So like an FD from pension account will have different interest rate as compared to salary or saving account. So all these policies, the related metadata, and then there are some actions happening on each of the account, like interest credit and so on, the balance being transferred. So what the credit limit. So many things are around happening around your bank account. So it's not only your account and the money in that account, your loan, your repayment, your installment, everything is there, which has to be taken care. So, but we need to check whether they are transactional or not. So some of them are transactional, some of them are not non-transactional. Okay. You want or need to rely on a trusted party. Like here, I generally mention the example of cooperative banks. Although they provide payment, what is the issue? Cooperative bank is the account holder has to trust that cooperative society for following the regulations, adhering to the government norms and all. So if like in electronic payment gateways, you need to trust on the third party, your banks, whether they are cooperative societies or public sector union banks. In case of Bitcoin, you don't need any trusted, you need trusted party, but that trusted party is not single entity. It's a P2P network. The aspect in a government can control how the currency should be used within the country to ensure economic safety and ensure there's no foreign invasion happening or there's no fake currency in the circulation. So those governance cannot happen actually on the blockchain as it is. We have to work around to use these governance tools in case of cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. For example, one of the current rule we have is if there's a transaction of more than 50,000, PAN number is required. But in case of Bitcoin, if somebody is transacting more than 50,000, it's not in public means it's not known to any single governing authority, and they cannot enforce this rule of using PAN number compulsory for more than 50,000 transactions. Okay. So I'll again give you the next 5 blocks to you as questions. The remaining time I would like to use to help you solving these questions. If you have any doubt or any doubt related to the previous discussion we had, please feel free to ask. I'll again repeat next 5 questions which you need to focus and what you need to cover as part of your answer. The first question is, are you managing contractual relationship or value exchange? What is your opinion for electronic payments and Bitcoins? Are there contractual relationships or not? If you say yes, I would like to know why you are considering that. If no, then why not? And second question would be, do you require shared write access? Now, shared write access where? Not on the currency nodes, on the distributed data set, which is at the back end. At the back end for electronic payment, it's a bank's data sets, and for Bitcoin, it's a distributed ledger, which is uh, using P2P network for data storage. Do we require shared write access, or it's exclusive write or exclusive read or shared read access? If yes or no, and why? Then the third question is, uh, do you do contributors know and trust each other? So who all are the contributors in case of electronic payments? Identify those stakeholders. The same way, identify stakeholders who are contributing to the system in case of Bitcoin, and then check whether they know each other and also trust or not. Then if they trust each other, then also we need to check whether the relevant question is whether they have valid interest or not. For example, uh, if you remember, I don't know, at Prisoner's Dilemma game, if you have heard about this. So we say there are two and so prisoner A and B, and they were kept in different jails, and the rules of games are like this, that if both accepts the uh, both accepts the terms, like mm, says yes, like if both accepts that they have committed the crime, then they both will get the term of 5/5, and if only A and no, if B says no and A accepts, then it will get imprisonment, will be free. A rejects and B accepts and 10-10. If B accepts, A accepts 5-5. If B rejects, then 10 years imprisonment. So that is the game. Now what happens is, if both jail, so they know these things. Now by knowing things, then A will get 10 imprisonment alone and will be free. So A, because of mistrust, actually tend to say no and get imprisonment, thinking that if I say yes and others says no, but they don't see the actual advantage is there if they both say yes, because there's an interest, is their interest is not well aligned. If their interests are well aligned, then they both will get 5 years jail. But since they don't trust, their interests are not aligned, each of them is looking at the individual advantages, so they both get 10 years of imprisonment. So you can think of similar scenarios in case of electronic payment and Bitcoin also. Next question would be on, do you need to be able to control the functionality? So like I have partially discussed this aspect. Do you want governance on your transactions exchange, or you don't want governance? And what is the advantage of having governance and what is the disadvantage of having governance? The last question should be whether the transactions are public or not. So like in Bitcoin, your transactions are actually public, but you cannot extract out any transaction as such. But if you have access to your wallet, you can extract out your transactions, you can see, you can get the statement, everything is there. Why I'm saying your transactions are public? Because actually they are stored in the public data storage. Because in the blockchain, P2P network, all the storage nodes are also in public domain. So that is the issue with Bitcoin or Ethereum. They both are public storage in nature. So that is all from my side. So 5 questions for this slide and 5 questions for previous session. Questions are same, but let me tell you, answer will be entirely different. How do you see IoT and how do you see an electronic payment or cryptocurrency system is entirely different. I have discussed the architectures for all of them: IoT architecture, cryptocurrency architecture, Bitcoin architecture, blockchain architecture. So you keep those things in mind while answering your questions. So with this, I will formally say my presentation is over. I'm here to now interact with you, and if you have any questions or any point you want to discuss, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your session. So now, all the attendees, if you have any question, you can write on the chat box, Uh,
So I can see some questions. PPTs, you just navigate to my homepage. I will upload there all these PPTs. I'm not able to see specific slide that sir is talking about. Need to check means I just stopped sharing just now, but earlier these things were shared. So I will also put it on my homepage. You can access from there. Okay, so yeah, I was on mobile network, so in between you might have faced some issues. Okay, it got synced later. Great. Okay. 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 Any other doubt or question? Sir, so there's a question from Dheeraj. I want to know how actually are cryptos traded? Like when we buy, sell crypto, who sell by, who, how that is managed? It's a long set of questions. I will go one by one. See, the way you use mobile app, in the same way you use Bitcoin app, Bitcoin wallet. So you can download Bitcoin wallet, you can create login. There might be email verification, and that's all. You have wallet with you. Now you want to earn Bitcoin. So how to earn Bitcoin? So there are multiple ways. Either you buy Bitcoin by exchanging your Indian currency or US dollars. So like one Bitcoin is close to 18,000 US dollar something. So you can buy, like you buy share market shares by paying the amount. You can also buy the, it's similar to currency exchange. You can pay in Indian rupees and you can buy some US dollars by paying some extra amount on the exchange service. Okay. How actually are cryptos traded? These crypto coins or currencies are traded as usual in the electronic payment we are trading. You just need to mention three things: recipient number, the amount, and the commission you want to give it to the miner. Like when we, so I'm reading the question. When we buy and sell crypto, who sell and buy? So you sell and you buy. You may ask question, who creates new cryptocurrency? Like in case of physical currency banking system, RBI is the authority in India to, decide whether to print more money or not. So in the same way, we can ask who can create new currency. So there is again mathematical model for it. Currency is created if like you buy you if you pay in US dollar and you buy from the exchange. So those exchange can give you some Bitcoin, and it's not randomly it's created. So sometimes based on the mining, for each mining, there's some very small percentage of Bitcoin is being created based on the hardness of the problem. Whom does the amount goes to when I buy crypto? Like it's same. There are some exchange companies who provide you US dollar in for like Indian rupees, like SBI also have foreign exchange. Each bank has their foreign exchange office, and then there are some private players who provide service for foreign exchange. So those things, so amount goes to those companies. Does exchange holds the amount of crypto I buy there? See, the amount you are buying, actually you are paying them in Indian rupees and US dollars. What they do is they use this money to put in their other businesses in the real world. Another way to earn Bitcoin is you start a business and you start accepting money in Bitcoin format. So you can provide services to consumer and earn Bitcoin the way you earn Indian rupees or US dollars. How your transaction get requested to sellers? So in blockchain architecture, the moment you perform the transaction, that transaction goes to the publicly available database of all the transaction pool, memory pool, from where the miners will pick your transactions and validate it, and that's how it's got committed. Could you explain the entire process, please? So entire process of blockchain Bitcoin is, you can look at the architectural diagram. I'll again say, you initiate the transaction. Say you wanted to transfer money to me. So you give this detail, how much money and the account holder name and money for commission for miners. You put it on the public domain, public database of transaction pools, which are considered as the Bitcoin infrastructure. So you can be also a miner. So you can buy a mining machine. Mining machine is nothing, it's a customized computer which are optimized to perform the mining computation for Bitcoin. So you can find these mining machines on Amazon or Flipkart. You can buy those machines. You can install at your home, plug it. It will consume lots of electricity. It may need to cool down, so you may need to put AC also. You connect it to internet. You configure as per the Bitcoin mining documentation, mining configuration. Once you configure your miner, now it's you run the mining software on that machine. Now mining software responsibility is what? It will keep looking at the data pool of the transactions and keep taking out the blocks of the transactions. At the same time, there are other miners who are actually uh, going for the mining process. So for a given transaction block, whichever miners commit first, that block will be considered as part of the blockchain, and that miner will receive the reward for computing those transactions, mining those transactions. So that is the mining process. For detail, I will suggest that you refer to some YouTube videos which shows in animation that how actually mining happens in the Bitcoin. So there you will need to, you will also find to visualize the mining process. Okay, there are some more questions. How can I create my own cryptocurrency and trade it, calculate its price, get it listed for all? See, it's like similar to your mobile app. The way you can create a mobile app and say this Ace 123 game. You might have seen the advertisement of that app. The same way you can create a wallet. The only issue comes is whether your cryptocurrency is for public domain or private domain. Like Bitcoin is in public domain, so anyone can become miner. For private currency, uh, you will be only the miner. So it will be similar to the banking system, and bank is regulating the price. Now, how you regulate the price? Okay, so for that purpose, I'll say that there are some these Sodexo coupons comes if you go to South India. Many IT companies used to give Sodexo coupons. That those coupons are written at 500, and those coupons are valid in almost all the malls in Bangalore. So if you live in Bengaluru, work for IT company, they give you Sodexo coupons, and you can use that coupons to buy some stuff or go for entertainment, watch some movies, use in restaurants and all. Now, if 500 is written on that paper, Sodexo coupon, it's equivalent to 500 rupees. So that's what I'm repeating again. The cryptocurrency is nothing, it's similar to the paper-based currency. You can have your own coupons. The only thing is you want to ensure that it's secure enough, privacy enough. Listed for all, as for now in India, cryptocurrencies are banned. So please don't do that part. Don't list for all that cryptocurrency. But privately you can host it. If government is able to trace you that you are the person who is owning this cryptocurrency system, then they will run behind you. Okay. Another question is, can you please give a table with list of increasing vulnerability as majority of papers are on scalability? So vulnerability is like the reference which I have shared, which the framework which I have used here, whether blockchain is an hype or not, it will list down all the vulnerabilities. So you can refer to the reference mentioned in my PPT. Yes, Sunil Dhankar is asking, sir, in India it is valid to buy cryptocurrencies. It's not valid. You can buy and you can sell also, but not to Indian partners. So like Indian businesses are not allowed to do transaction in cryptocurrency, but no one is stopping you from buying. But government has strictly mentioned that bitcoins have no value in India. So it's up to your risk whether you want to buy or not. In my personal opinion, I won't suggest to buy. The only reason is, see, it might go in future. You might get benefited if you buy right now. But given the current scenario of the looking at the governance aspect, regulation aspects, Bitcoin may not be useful because once it becomes international currencies, you can see that all the countries will be on the same page in terms of currencies. And then if a country decides to put more miners in for the currency, that country can control the whole cryptocurrency. To give you some stats, if you look at the Bitcoin miners geographically how they are spread out, you will see that China having so many number of miners. So if you use Bitcoin, there is a threat that if Chinese government starts regulating it, Chinese government will take over all the miners on their territory and they can start controlling the currency. Next question is, can you please give a table? Okay, this is already done. Which vulnerability is most critical while implementing blockchain? Okay, so I'll say prove this consensus protocol in distributed manner is the most critical task. Theoretically, it can be done simultaneously, but if you study the distributed systems, there's a Vector's-Lambert clock in distributed system to ensure that all distributed systems are running the same clock. So even the clock synchronization, the small thing like clock synchronization in distributed system is challenging problem. If we want to ensure that a transaction happened at a particular point of time in distributed is also challenging. So consensus protocol in distributed system is challenging. It becomes more challenging if these distributed systems are open to public, so any adversary can also join your distributed system. Okay. Why papers are not talking about privacy and laws to regulate them? Okay. Why papers are not talking about? I don't see people are talking about privacy and laws to regulate cryptocurrency. There are different frameworks. In fact, I mentioned that few countries has allowed the use of cryptocurrencies. But then there's a challenge because of anonymity and Bitcoin as a system is not handling the loss of Bitcoins in case of wallet loss. So those things we need to work out at technological level. At the same time, we need to bring policymakers in confidence that this technological solution is actually well fitted for the particular policy. So I'll say that policymakers and technology inventors should come together to make it feasible. And then the second issue is like in India, we have maybe uh, close to 20 million or 40 million mobile connections. 40 millions means 4 crore mobile connections, and most of people have dual SIM nowadays. So, but the population is 120, more than 120 crore. Still, the digital is in not reach of most of the population in India. So, if we go for digital currency, most of the population will be deprived of using the currency at all. So, there are so many challenges in adopting the digital systems. Okay, any other question or doubt?
Any other question from the participants? Participants, can you have any doubt and query from sir?
Okay, so if there are no more questions, so I think time is also over.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your nice information. We are pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, thank you. Welcome.
Dear participants, here we have only 2 to 3 minutes break. Please stay joined. Participants, we